Hello, folks. Welcome to Pro Trader Strategies. It's Monday, August the 23rd. We are an educational company, so if you guys are looking for an edge in the markets, it starts right here with your education. Please hit that subscribe button, and next to it, there is a little bell. Gives you an indication of when I'm going to pop on here. We schedule these videos at around 11:30 Eastern. So during the day, though, I might pop in here and talk about a trade that I'm putting on. So make sure you have that notification so you get a heads up when we're doing that. Please smash the like button as it does help us out. And throughout this video, folks, comment down there, please, because I want to know what you guys are thinking. If you guys see something you want me to talk about, throw it over there in the chat window. I'm going to keep an eye on it, make sure you guys are all clear of concept before we move on. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with the economic data and see what's going on here with the overall markets. Across the pond, Japan, we got flash PMI. Remember, PMI is Purchasing Managers Index. I like looking at this number. Why? Because it gives us a really good forward expectation as to what demand looks like. Because the purchasing manager is looking at the demand coming into his company and then looking out to try and purchase those raw goods that go into the manufacturing process to produce whatever widget they have. So those guys are key because they get first sight of all kinds of demand. So Japan, in line with expectations. Above 50 is expansion. Anything below 50 is contraction there. So then we go over to the European area. France and Germany, the big manufacturing sectors of the European region. So that's the manufacturing sector there is what we're going to be looking at. So the French flash manufacturing PMI coming in at 57, in line with the expectations of 57. German manufacturing coming in at 62.7. That's pretty good, but it was off of what was expected at 65. If we look at the flash services PMI for France, it came in at 56, right in line with expectations. German flash services coming in slightly higher than expected at 61.5, expected to be just 61 even. Now the broader European region, we also take a look at that, and it comes in at, for the manufacturing PMI, 61.5, or sorry, yes, 61.5, which was slightly off the 62 expectations. And then the services coming in at 55, expected to be 59. So coming off, but all of those numbers still above 50. Now let's start moving over here to the United States. We got our own PMI. Now keep in mind, we do look at our ISM, Institute for Supply Management, as the main indicator for our PMI numbers, but we still get our flashes as well. So it comes in at 61.2 below 62.4, but above that 50 watermark, right? Above 50 is expansion. And then our services, we are more of a service sector, coming in at 55, lower than the expected 59 there. Now, although we are starting to see this kind of ratchet down, we are still seeing bullishness in the markets based on some of these data points that we're getting here, and the fact that Pfizer got FDA approval. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Full FDA approval across the board for Pfizer. Existing home sales, folks, coming in just shy of 6 million, 5,999,000. That's coming off of those highs we've seen, but keep in mind, above 6 million is something we haven't seen since 2009, folks. Yeah, we had a higher watermark here recently coming out of COVID, but we're seeing still elevated, really elevated home sales. Remember last week we saw the NAHB, which is the National Association of Home Builders. One of the things we saw with that number was come off a little bit, and it was because folks were talking about sticker shock on these homes. Well, they didn't shy away too much on these existing home sales, as we saw that number come in much better than expected. All right, let's get on with the overall markets. I can share my screen here and we'll talk about crude oil. Crude oil is making a move here. Now, last week we've been talking about how the dollar was strengthening throughout that time. Now, I thought that the dollar strength wasn't necessarily the catalyst for the weakness here in crude oil. Crude oil was seeing some weakness because of the manufacturing numbers that we were seeing come in a little bit sketchy. Now we're seeing these new PMI numbers in line with expectations, but I don't think we're going to see any massive rebound in the economy. I think the economy is trudging along. We've got to have this Delta variant here in the back of our head. Now, something we did talk about a minute ago was Pfizer getting full FDA approval on their vaccine. Now, who's in line behind them, Moderna, we're going to be keeping an eye on. I'm going to talk about those folks here in a minute, but we're seeing some strength here in crude oil. And I think it's because the economic data, the Delta variant, Pfizer getting this full FDA approval, all of those things are very bullish for the overall economy here. We're seeing crude oil make that move, anything dollar denominated making that move, as we're seeing some weakness in the dollar, but strength across the board. We can see gold making that move back up into the 1800 handle. Bitcoin right now, take a snapshot, it's out of the 50 handle. First time we've seen that since May. Again, we are just off of that, but there is a lot of bullish talk here in Bitcoin. Now, something to keep in mind here, this is a support and resistance that we aren't really seeing here. You can see it lined up as a bottom here and a top again. So something to keep in mind is 48,000. 50 is the psychological level, folks, that everybody's going to be trying to drive for. But note here that we are looking at a doji at the top of this move, looking like a spinning top doji, maybe even a hammer doji, but a topping pattern nonetheless after we're getting this drive outside the value area. We've got the point of control here at around 37,000, right? That's going to act as a magnet trying to draw this down. Folks are going to try everything they can to try and defend that 50,000 and get it above there today. So keep your eyes on that for a close above 50,000. That's going to be a great psychological win for anybody trading Bitcoin. Anything below that is going to look like we are starting to top out here for the short term. Now, I've talked bullish in Bitcoin for a few weeks now. Maybe some people are taking a little bit of profit here in the near term. Bonds unchanged for the most part, but VIX really falling out of bed. That's because we've got some moves to the upside here in the equities. As you can see, the NASDAQ making new all-time high. I mean, it is just climbing every step of the way. We'll see a breakdown of the E-mini S&Ps. It feels very similar. Here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We can I'll break this down into a 15-minute chart here for you. You can see the climb throughout the day session. One or two maybe pauses here, but very strong throughout the day here in the equities across the board. E-mini S&Ps, new all-time high here. Bouncing after we bounced off that 50-day simple moving average, folks. We were talking about this. This lines up nicely with our trend channel and everything else in the SPY. So we'll talk about that trade here in a moment. E-mini S&Ps, no red candles, just full on strength today, basically based on what we're talking about with Pfizer giving more strength to the overall economy. We're even looking at travel and leisure opening up quite nicely here. I'll go through some charts here real quick. But first off, I wanted to talk about this SPY trade that we had put on here, making the moves to the upside. Remember, we talked about breaking through this trend channel. Friday, we were talking about as soon as we got up there, it looked like we were settling inside of that trend channel. It surely looks like we are going to go test this mid-mark there in the foreseeable future. So playing that, I ended up going into the long calls on here. If you guys are selling some short puts in there because we had that high volatility. Forgot about this on Friday. We were talking about this high volatility mark here, expectations of volatility coming out on a bounce. With all that said, we got those September sold the 415 puts in there, and I talked about this maybe to nauseum on Friday, but that point of control is an area where that would be great strike location to get long, right? Where the time and volume has been spent, we usually settle down there. So if I was long there, it wouldn't be very stressful, right? So strike location is key here. With that high volatility, that's what allowed me to get that strike location. Now we're getting the move higher. We usually see volatility. We already saw the VIX coming out because of these all-time highs. Volatility is coming out of these ETFs as well. So a move higher here, very close to 50% max profit on this trade already with just a day in it. I'm going to let this ride out, see how this plays, because I think my strike location is so awesome. Volatility coming out. All of those levers and pulleys are working in my favor right now. So just wanted to talk about that because of that swing type trade. And again here with MasterCard, we're getting a swing type trade here as well, where we bounced off this 61 Fibonacci on Friday. Yeah, we did settle below it on Friday, but we got this bounce. And I think we're going to migrate back towards the point of control and possibly even test this 78 Fibonacci. So high volatility, I believe the market is going to move, or it's actually, the volatility's kind of come out of this already. So with that said, I'm going to be looking to add this trade with probably some long calls, making a bullish move. So I haven't quite decided on that yet, but I'm going to be looking at long calls. So I'm going to try and limit that theta decay, go out into something like the November and pick a strike right around the probably 45 to 35 delta, okay, on that move. Move higher here would be, with low volatility, a strategy where I would be looking to buy some calls there, all right? And then finally, I guess I don't want to pull that off. I want to go back to Pfizer and talk about it because we have a trade on in here with the high volatility, them coming out with this trial result, right? That's usually when we get some high volatility. I fully expect the FDA to come out and pass this, which they did. So that's a little bit bullish for Pfizer, but it seems like Moderna is doing a little bit better based on this Pfizer news that the FDA, this is the only one that's been approved so far by the FDA. But we go over and look at Moderna. We can see that Moderna is doing, I always want to put it, Moderna, I can never remember Moderna's ticker symbol. As you can see here, Moderna doing much better, up 5% based on the Pfizer news. So expectation is Moderna is probably going to get some clearance here. Now, why am I talking so much about Pfizer? It's because I took advantage of some of this high volatility in here by selling some puts as well. Excuse me. And went into the September. I'm short the 44 puts in there. And market moving higher. We got volatility was coming out. We are seeing a bit of a spike in volatility here, but directional move is outpacing that for my position in my portfolio. So I'm going to let this play out a little bit, but for the most part, SPY trade moving to the upside. I haven't covered anything yet. Added the MasterCard and keeping an eye on this Pfizer. Move back towards that 51 area or back up into that 51 handle. I'll probably be able to cover these relatively quickly here in this Pfizer trade. All right, that's it. That's all I've got for you folks. Everybody check out the subscribe button down there at the bottom. There's a little bell right next to it. That'll give you a notification if I come in unannounced. Also, before you go, please smash that like button. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything else, I'm going to try and keep my eye on the comment section. Oh, Adam just turned on here. What do you got, Adam? What strike am I going to be looking at in Pfizer? We're going to be looking at, as a matter of fact, why don't I just pull this trigger right now on this Pfizer trade? Let's look at a chart here on Pfizer. PFE. Let's look at, my computer's freaking out. So I'm going to be looking at about that 45 to 35 delta in something MasterCard, I think is what you're talking about my MasterCard trade, right? What strike would I pick here, or are you asking about the strike in Pfizer? All right, I'll go over both of those real quick. So in MasterCard, MC Hammer, MasterCard. In MasterCard, I am looking at this trade for the 365 calls right around there. I'm just looking at my MasterCard here and trying to look at the option montage for this. So it's something right around that 365, which would put me right around this point of control. All right. So that's going to be a little bit more aggressive on a trade for MasterCard. I'm going to be a little bit closer to the at the monies on that. And the delta on this trade as of right now being very close to the highs of the day here in this particular underlying. You know, when I was looking at it earlier today, I was looking at that 365. I might actually get a little less aggressive here. And you know what? Let's just do it. Let's go with the at the monies here. It's about a 48 delta. I'm going to have to pay somewhere around, I'm going to put in a 550 bid. I'm just going to join the bid right now, and then I'm going to roll this up as I'm going to do a cancel replace on this. That's what I like to try to do, folks. When we're putting in orders, one of the things is you don't have to pay for a cancel replace. All right. That is free. You only get charged when you get filled on this. So the idea is start out on the bid and work your way slowly higher. I'm not saying you have to wait 15 minutes, but put it in there, do a cancel replace, and bump that up on this trade. All right. So I'm going to start getting on that, but I'm going to be looking at these 365 calls. Right now, the offer is about $15.90. If I can get a little bit of a pullback, I might be able to get those on the $15.50 bid. It looks like somebody just outbid me. So I'm going to play around with this and get on this relatively quickly, folks, and try and get on this long in the November, because I want to limit that theta decay, folks. And I'm looking right now at the 365 calls to get long. Why? Because that's where this point of control is. I'll at least get to that spot. And we could possibly go up and test the 50-day simple moving average relatively quickly. Limiting the theta decay by going into long duration, it also gives me more time to be right if we kind of start bouncing around here. Limit the theta decay. Hopefully take advantage of some volatility expansion if that happens. That's not what I'm looking for in this trade, because volatility probably won't increase too much as we're starting to rally. And then, yes, so 365 calls in MasterCard is what I'm going to be looking at, and they are moving higher really quickly. So I'm gonna hop off here and try and get me some MasterCard. All right, folks. Before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, like, and thanks, Adam. We'll be keeping an eye on this MasterCard trade and try and pick these up for a bullish swing type move. All right, that's all. If you can't take that, take it easy. Bye for now.